Before I introduce our keynote speaker, I just want to briefly say, I think it's important that as we gather here today as an interreligious community, that we recognize the pain that is being suffered by folks in Paris today and people who acted not in the name of God, but in the name of politics and something that is not real. If you look around here, you will see leaders from the Jewish community, the Muslim community, the Christian community, the Hindu community, the Buddhist community, and other faith communities, because we come together because we believe God wants us to live in peace. And if you need a statement about the reality of that, I invite you to simply look at this room and know that in Rhode Island, that statement of peace exists right here. Our guest speaker hasn't been in Rhode Island very long. He came here just a couple of years ago, but he came with two things. He came with energy and he came with openness. And he has exhibited that energy and he has exercised that openness. And we are so pleased that Bishop Nicholas Knisely of the Episcopal Diocese is here working with us and among us and here to share his thoughts with us today about poverty. Bishop Knisely, welcome.
It's a great honor to be here, and thank you for the invitation. Let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a small village on the banks of a swift-flowing river. The people in the village lived quietly with one another, and no one paid very much attention to them. But one day, to the villagers' shock and surprise, some young children who had been playing by the bank of the river came running with the news that there was a baby in the river being carried downstream by the current, barely able to remain afloat. Everyone rushed to the water's edge, organized themselves into a rescue team, and fished the baby out of the water. They adopted the child as one of their own and raised her like they raised their own children. The surprising thing is that this didn't just happen once. Over the months and years that followed, at random times, the cry would go up that another baby had been spotted in the river. The village would organize itself to respond to the emergency and would commit itself to caring for yet another child. This went on for years. The village, as you might expect, developed quite the protocol for these sorts of emergencies. It almost became normal. Just an ongoing feature of village life. These nearly drowned infants that were starting to consume a greater and greater portion of the villagers' resources and attentions. Then one day, an elder stood up in the center of the village and said to the others, "We have become very good at saving these children, but I think it's time for us to go upriver and find out who it is who keeps tossing these babies, and we must put a stop to it." I first heard this parable told by a wise woman in my faith tradition who was involved in the restarting of the permanent diaconate, an order of ministry in the Episcopal Church that is focused on not just responding to the immediate needs of poverty, but to the underlying issues and working on them. People gathered in this rotunda this afternoon are essentially the people of that village. We, as the representatives of faith communities and advocacy groups of Rhode Island, as citizens, as voters in this state, are here because we have become quite skilled at responding to the effects of poverty in our communities. Look at the work the Catholic Charities does, the Jewish Family Services does, the St. Elizabeth Homes, Steer House, and the other organizations that care for our elderly, at Crossroads, at the Warm Center, at Meeting Street School, with the Rhode Island Food Bank, and the numerous food pantries in religious and community buildings, and even my own faith community's Episcopal Charities. we have gotten very good at responding to the immediate effects of poverty. But we are here to ask you, our elected leaders, to help our community, our state, deal with the underlying issues that are too big for the faith community to respond to on their own. Issues that by virtue of your election are as much on your plate, if not more, than they are on ours. We have gotten very good at rescuing. Today, though, we pledge ourselves and our communities to working with you, our elected officials, and finding out how we get people to stop throwing the children into the river. The issues are hard, and responding to one challenge can have unexpected consequences and effects on another. It's not just a simple matter of providing emergency resources for people in poverty, but that is important. But the real issues that are throwing our neighbors into the waters of poverty are the very issues that you are working on in your legislative agenda, as you have said here just this afternoon, as you said in your speeches yesterday, for which we were all gratified to hear. Finding good jobs for people, making sure Rhode Islanders have the education necessary to fill the jobs that go unfilled today, providing early education resources and family support, making sure everyone has access to health care, addiction recovery services, and particularly important for our homeless, making sure that we provide access to mental health resources to the people most at risk, for caring for the elderly, for the chronically ill, and finding out how to do that in a way that doesn't impoverish the rest of their family, helping families who are living paycheck to paycheck, one emergency away from losing the life they work so hard to achieve. It's all of a piece, all of it together, responding to the root causes that create the effects we are seeing. I can't imagine any of you in our government, our legislators, our governor, would dismiss the reality of the experience of poverty in our state. I know that much of your work in this coming legislative year will be focused on attacking the problem from a number of different angles. We know that these are hard things to do. We know that they are challenges that will require all of our very best efforts. And that is why we are here to tell you that we will help in any way possible, any way that we can help you do the work that you have been entrusted by us to do. We are praying for you, each of you, in our worship and in our daily prayer, by name. We are praying that the Holy God will inspire you and your work so that those on the margins of our community will not be at risk. We want you to know, Governor Raimondo, Speaker Mattiello, Senate President Weed, as you take on these challenges with energy, creativity, and passion, know that you and your colleagues are not alone. We will be lifting you up as you lead our community to take on the hard problems that cause the poverty that keeps us from being the people we want to be. The community that cares for the least as much as for the great, for the weak as much as for the powerful, for the poor as much as for the wealthy. Jesus once said, "The poor will always be with you." This is a challenge, and it is a promise. It is a challenge because we know that there will always be more to do in finding the causes of poverty in this state and eliminating them. It is a promise because all people of faith recognize we can only truly serve God by serving the weakest and the most vulnerable. The way we serve the poor is the way we reveal our truest selves to the world. We will work with you, our elected leaders, in prayer and in action as you work this coming year and as you address the underlying issues that are creating the poverty around us. Please continue to work with us to deal with the ongoing effects. You have our prayers and our offer to help. Thank you.